The views and opinions expressed by guests on So This Is Love are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the official position of the podcast or the interviewer. A trigger warning to our listeners today: this episode contains depictions of abuse, suicidal ideation, and may be disturbing to some of our audience members. If you or anyone else is affected by these issues, please find support in the show notes of this episode. Hello, everybody. This is Jules. Welcome back to So This Is Love. A quick note to our listeners: if you would like to support this podcast, you can do so via our till number or PayPal. All the details are in the description box of this episode. Your contribution is what will keep us going. To my guests, who have so openly shared their stories of healing, reflection, and triumph, thank you for allowing us to grow through your journey. Remember, you can find us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you haven't already, do subscribe, as it does help us reach more people. So This Is Love is a space where people can relate to one another, learn from one another, and find a sense of belonging. Enjoy. Coming up on So This Is Love.
We had an academic day. My sister came and she goes to each and every desk and tell them that my sister is a prostitute. And she brings men into my home, and she has turned my house into a lodging.
Welcome to So This Is Love, a podcast about love, the loss of love, heartbreak, and the meeting of self. We share stories on how the relationships we once had teach us about who we are and define who we become. And maybe through these stories, we can answer that age-old question: is it better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all? So, this is love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of So This Is Love. Today, I am joined by the beautiful and very soft-spoken Luna, not her real name, here to tell us a story about a very defining relationship in her life with a woman that we are calling Nova, also not her real name. Now, this is a sister-sister relationship. Luna is the younger sister to Nova, and the reason that Luna really wanted to come here today and tell us about this defining relationship in her life is because Nova was not just any other sister, but a sister that almost played a mother role in Luna's life. They do have a big age gap that Luna will give us more detail on. And this relationship ended up impacting so many areas of Luna's life, from her social life, her relationships with other people, her ability to make friends, even as far down or up as her mental health. This is a relationship that Luna says, had been going on, or this kind of mother-daughter relationship, even though they are sisters, was going on since she was as young as 11 years old, even though her parents are still alive. And we can't wait to hear about it, Luna. Welcome to So This Is Love.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
I'm a bit nervous. I also feel happy seeing you and hearing that voice.
Yeah. This is where the magic happens. Yeah. All right. I want us to start from your early years. Back in the beginning, obviously, Nova is your older sister. What was that relationship like growing up? Paint us a picture of what your childhood was like. What were the kind of dynamics that existed in your family between you and Nova, between you and perhaps your other siblings, your parents? Just paint us that picture.
I can trace back my life when I started schooling. I picture my home as a very happy home. My parents are very generous people. And I remember my dad, when I started going to school, my dad was my hero. Dad was always there for me. I remember he used to brush my shoes every evening, and he used to make sure that my uniform is washed. I come from a poor background, so I used to have one uniform, one pair of socks. So they have to be washed every evening. I'm a child, so they get dirty. And I'm known as a cry child. I cry. I cry when I want something. I cry when I am sad. I cry when I'm happy. Yes, so anytime any of these things were not done, I would cry. And my dad would be angry to my elder siblings. I come from a family of 8 siblings. I'm the seventh born. At that time, I was the last born. My younger sister, we have an age gap of around 8 years. At this time, my elder sister, she was not at home like every time. She went to boarding school. And before I forget, one important thing I have to mention is all my siblings went to a public school except me and my elder sister. So my elder sister went to the best private school in the area at that time. I was also taken to that school. And the difference is she went to boarding school earlier than I was to go. So Nova was not home most of the time because she went to boarding school at an early age. I remember most of the time she would come, stay home for a week, and then go to my aunt's place. So she was not there every time. Let me just say that. And then something else about my childhood is there's a time now my sister has grown. She has gone to college. She did education. And I think I was around 7 years, 6, 7 years there. And then she comes back from college and she's this teacher and she wants to teach me. But I am remembering that she was not very patient with me. She tried to teach me math and I couldn't understand. And then she wanted to beat me. Then I ran away and she was like, I can't teach you anymore. And then she used to love me. You know how you have an elder sister who comes back and brings you clothes. I could say that is my childhood with my sister. And then her relationship with my parents. I remember I was so young. That age gap is big. So I was so young. And one thing I remember is once in a while, she was not in agreement with my mom. My mom will tell her something, but she will be like, they'll disagree, they'll exchange words. I can remember that, but I'm not sure. I was young. I can't understand what was going on at that point. Yes, I would say that is all about my childhood with my sister and with my family. Yeah. When I was 10 years, I am still in the private school I was into. And then in this school, there was a rule that you have to go to boarding when you reach standard 5. And this time, my sister is already married, 2 years married. She was married when I was 9, and then she got a baby. I'm going to boarding school. There are finances. I have other siblings in school, someone in high school, and others still in primary school. And then my sister is employed in a private school where she's married. And this school offers scholarship for every teacher for one student. And my sister says, I need help with my child. And again, where I'm teaching, I can get a scholarship for my sister. So let me stay with her. But my mom was like, no, you cannot stay with her. I don't know why. I've been asking my mom, why were you saying no? But she has never told me like a straight answer. She was like, no, it was going back and forth. But at the end of it, my dad was like, just allow her to go. That is her sister. There's nothing bad that can happen. So I'm allowed to go. At this point, I'm going to 35. I am 10 years old. I turn 11 at almost the end of the year. So I'm still 10 years old. Remember, I am a last born. Everything is being done for me at home. I get to my sister's place and it is the other way around. The first thing is you'll be brushing all the shoes that are supposed to be brushed in this house. Chores starting. And then she tells me, as you're going to school, after supper, you'll be washing the utensils at night and then you mop the kitchen. At this point, I want to mention that my sister was not financially okay. She was at a point where struggling. a bit. They cannot afford to get a house help. So I'm washing the utensils so that she can take care of the baby in the morning. She used to carry the baby to school. So during the day, I check on the baby. The school had a dormitory, so the baby used to sleep there. That was life. But then it is so hard for me. I'm not used to these chores. I feel like my sister is mistreating me, but I'm like, it's not a big deal. I'm still a child, and these things are new to me. So when I'm joining school, my sister took me to a shop. She bought me clothes. She bought me the uniform. This point, I also want to emphasize that at this time, the uniform, we have the cotton, and then we have the nylon type of uniform. The cotton, you go to a tailor, they make you a uniform. It's a good quality, let me say that. So when I'm getting to this new school, I get the good quality one. I have to mention it because I'll refer to it. So I get 2 pairs of uniform, I get shoes. And then the time when I was coming to stay with her, my mom bought me a bag. I can remember it was a red bag, the bag I used to carry my clothes to come there. So I used this bag to go to school. And it gets to the end of the year. I am doing so well, better than I was doing in the other school. Reasons being, in the other school, I was from a poor background, and the other school, people are from rich background. So I was feeling a bit intimidated. But here, I'm staying with a teacher. So I'm not poor anymore. So I'm doing well in school, very well, better than I had ever done in school.
Do you mean socially or in terms of performance?
Performance, yeah. At the end of that year, I remember my grandmother died during the December holidays, and we go home. And at the same time, my sister was pregnant with her second child. We go home, we bury our grandmother. Then she goes back to her home, and then I remain home for the holidays. And then schools are opening. I'm going to standard 6. Then I go back to her place. Then this is the time I start noticing weird situations. I am from home. I greet her, and she doesn't respond. Something I forgot is when she went back, she gave birth. She gave birth to her second born child. So I'm so happy. I love kids. I love kids. I've taken care of all my sister's kids, by the way. So I love kids. I'm so happy I'm going to carry another small baby. And then I go back, and it is so cold in this house. So I'm greeting people. She's quiet. So this year, a lot of things happened. The things I can remember is there's a time we used to, at this time I'm 11, I'm supposed to be turning 12 this year. And during the weekends, we used to watch movies. We're just sitting there with my sister. And I remember we had people staying with us. Her sister-in-law, I can't remember that. We are watching a Nigerian movie. You know those Nigerian movies where a child is mistreated, sent away from home. She is not given food. She's overworked. And then one day she makes a comment. We are watching this movie. It's like, I am treating you so well. You see how people are being mistreated outside there? I don't understand why she made this comment. Another thing is, as I continue staying here, the chores increased. From washing the utensils at night and mopping the kitchen, I was also told to mop my bedroom, our bedroom. Let me say our bedroom, because this bedroom belonged to me, her sister-in-law, and her now the elder child. The sister-in-law was also in boarding, so she used to come back during the holidays. Another role that I was added, we used to fetch water from a borehole, a kisima. So every evening when I'm from school, I fetch water. a lot of water. Every day there has to be water, even for future use. Yes, I used to do that too. This year, something that also changed is I used to carry lunch. When I was in standard 5, she used to pay for my lunch money in school. But it reached a point she was like, I am broke. You'll have to carry lunch. And this year, my sister started farming. So I remember there were maize, groundnuts, and what I used to carry for lunch was so little. I'm sorry to say this, but I used to be hungry. She used to buy bread, that's 600 grams bread. And the rule was you take 3 slices. So 3 slices for breakfast, and then 3 slices for lunch. And then you carry tea. That was the norm even when I was in standard 5. Then it reached a point where they're like, if you carry 6 slices of bread, it won't be enough for us, for her and the husband. So I'm given 10 bob. I carry my tea. And in the morning, I forgot to mention that I also used to make tea, white tea for the family, and then I make a black tea for my own. And in days where my sister prepared sweet potatoes, I will make porridge. So those are the changes that were made.
Was it just you who had to eat the, in very big quotes, the less expensive food, or was it for you and also your sister-in-law?
My sister-in-law, most of the time, she was not around. She went to boarding school. I'm talking about school days.
So you're cooking essentially for her and her husband and the firstborn?
Yes. I used to prepare for them a white tea.
Tea with milk, yes.
With milk.
And milk is essentially expensive.
Yeah.
It's almost seen as a luxury.
Yeah. And I make my black tea. Or porridge. I used to be angry in the evening. Very angry. Because that food was little. So that is how I started surviving. So in the morning, where we used to stay, there are these stalls where they sell vegetable, they sell sugar cane. So in the morning, you find the heads of the sugar cane that they had cut, the ones that are not sweet, they leave them there. So in the morning, we used to go to school very early in the morning. I go and pick that part of sugar cane. I remove the head part because I cannot pick it in the evening. Obviously, they are there. I put it in my bag, then I eat it in the evening. So I never used to work with anyone because how will I eat my sugar cane?
Without having to share?
Not having to share, the shame.
Oh.
That you know how, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The head of a sugar cane, the part that is not so sweet. I just wanted something to eat. So I go, I eat it, then get home. Another thing is there's a time I didn't get sugarcane in the morning. So I get home and I am so hungry. I am like, I can't wait for supper. Because we take supper at around 8, 9 there. And we leave school at around 5. So I get home and there was a vegetable that had been prepared a day before and it remained. So I go and serve a little of it and eat. And then, I don't know, I can't remember if we had a house help at this point, but my sister came and, at that point we had a house help. She could afford a house help at that time. So my sister come and ask, who ate this vegetable? And the help says, it's Luna. I was beaten. I was beaten by my sister. I remember her beating me and she poured a bucket of water on me. Yes, after that, it was raining at that point. At the time she was beating me, it was raining. So I ran, like when I got a chance to slip out of her hand, I ran and I was like, I'm going back home. But remember, I don't have any money. I don't know. Okay, I can't say I don't know how to get home. Because all this time, every time I was going home, I would be just given money and go at my age.
Bus fare or would it
The bus
or
fare.
bus?
The bus fare. my home was not so far. It was like you take a bus, then you take a border, to home. But I can't go home, so I run and go sit somewhere. Then she follows me, and she's like, "Ulikuwa unaenda wapi?" Meaning, where were you going? And I just keep quiet. Then we go back, and things become normal again. Supper is made, and we eat, and life continues. So, one thing I remember is I was being beaten. I was being prepared in the African language. I'm a child who has been beaten very well. Like, any chance my sister got, she will beat me. I lived in a world where I was afraid that what am I going to do next that is going to make her mad. Yeah. That is, I am still 11 years, I'm getting to 12. Another thing is, in this same year, it was a very, let me say, a tough year. Things were changing. My sister started farming, and she planted a lot of maize. A lot. I think 40 bags. When they were removed from the, what is it called?
Harvested
And removed
from the cob.
From the cobs. They had like, I don't know, it was 20 or 40, the big bags. So during the weekend, I'm the one who takes this maize out and brings them in. It's a lot. It covers almost the whole compound. And there's a time I am limping while walking because my back is hurt by, I'm a child and I'm carrying a heavy load. I carry a heavy load so that I cannot take a lot of time while moving the maize out. And then Nova's husband says, Eti, I've started sleeping with men. That's why I am limping. Now, at this point, I've started feeling very uncomfortable. Yeah. But I'm not telling anyone these things. I don't know. I never used to have friends. Yeah. Another thing I remember this year is my sister, she never used to wake me up. Remember, I am in standard 6 or standard 5. She never wakes me up. During the weekend, she has to wake me up to work. So she wakes me up during the weekend. But school days, she doesn't wake me up. And when I wake up late, she just wakes up. She sees me sleeping there. She prepares for school and goes to school and leave me there. And when I get to school, she tells the teacher that mtoto wa shule anafaa anaamka mapema. Hiyo sio kazi yangu kumamsha. Like, a school girl should be waking up early. That's not my job to wake her up. That's how she used to say. And I will be, in primary school, if you are late, you do a punishment. You go wash the latrines or you are beaten again. So that was it. So that was our life. I am so uncomfortable. I'm waiting to be beaten. And then at this point, I was bedwetting. When I left home, I was bedwetting. But through my 10th, let me say, when I started staying with my sister, I was trying to not bedwet. But then this time, it happened once. So my sister said, you are going to spoil my mattress. So she bought, I don't know how that thing is called.
Macintosh.
Not Macintosh. It's a mat. It's made of reeds or what. Yeah, then you put it down and you sleep on it.
On the floor.
I
get basically a mat.
It's not even a mat. In my language, we call it par. Yeah.
It's made of reeds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you put it on the floor and you sleep. Yeah, I slept on it for like maybe a year. Yeah. Or something. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was a bedwetting that happened once, and I slept there. I don't know the next time I started sleeping on the bed, but I used to, after people slept, because the bed was just there, by the way, in the same room. So after she had slept, I would go back and sleep on the bed. And so one day it happened that I went back to the bed and I bedwet that night, and I was beaten. Yeah. So that year is done. We get to the next year. I'm now 11, turning 12 in standard 7. My sister, her firstborn, started school. The school is next to my school. Something I forgot is my sister got employment by the government, and she changed schools. And when a teacher leaves the school, the sponsorship is no longer there. And she's told to pay the fee. And she's like, I cannot pay fee right now. I'm not financially stable. So you have to go to a public school. I changed school at the middle of the term in class 6, second term of class 6. So I go to a public school. Going to a public school, I am now getting to adolescent. And I remember there's a boy who wrote me a letter. I didn't know this letter was in my bag. So the day I saw this letter, I saw it, I think, in the evening, a week after moving to the next school. The letter was from the previous school. The day I saw this letter in the morning, I put it back in my bag. I was like, I'll come back and read this letter, Hey, someone is loving me. I'm so naive. At this time, I'm like, someone is writing me a letter. So, like, I'm coming back to it. So I go back to school, and in the evening, after eating, I'm told, like, sit down. What is happening? Sit down. I forgot about the letter. When I come back to school, I have a lot to do. I don't even have time for myself. So sit down, and then, like, you've started seeing men. I'm like, which men? We found this letter on your bag, and they start reading that letter. It is so shameful. They're reading this letter. And then they're like, I was not beaten this time, but they said I'm taking it to your class teacher. Imagine I'm new to this school, and this is the first news you give to your class teacher. It is taken to my class teacher, and I remember seeing my sister come to school that day, and I was like, I am just dying. That is the point you're like, new us. So the teacher calls me, and I'm made to kneel in front of the staff room the whole day because of this letter. And it come to pass. I'm like, okay, looking at this now, I'm like, those were small things. There are big things to come that are going to happen. I'm now in this school, but the teacher, I think she was like, that is a stage of life. She didn't hold it or abuse me with it anyway. I'm in school. I get to standard 7. So the rule of this school, when you get to standard 7, you don't leave school after games. In primary school, at 3:30, we go for games. Then at 4, there's an assembly. Then you disperse to go home. So for standard 7 and 8, you remain back for the evening preps. And remember, I told you when I'm getting to class 7, my niece or Nova's firstborn is starting school, and her school is next to my school. So Nova tells me the first week the child is supposed to be taken from school. You pay a boarder. It was like 30 shillings to take the baby home. At this time, we have a house help at home. Nova tells me that we cannot afford to pay the boarder, and you're just next there. You'll have to pick my daughter from school every evening, and you go home with her. Her daughter is supposed to be picked at 3:30. I'm supposed to leave school at 5:30. And in my school, you are not supposed to leave the school during games time. Games time is 3:30. So I am like, what will I do? So I'm supposed to pick the baby, and and live at a given salon there. So in the evening, I take her and we go home. So I tell my sister, I'm leaving school at 5:30. I cannot do that. And she's like, I don't care. I just want to see my baby in the evening with you back home. I have nothing to do because I'll be beaten if I don't. So I'm surviving. I'm a survivor. So I had teachers who had children in the same school. So they would send their students to go pick their children. So I would go, please teacher, can I go pick your baby? Can I go pick your baby so that I can pick my niece? And sometimes if you go so many times, the teachers will like, no, I'm not sending you every day. I'm not sending you every day. I'll send other girls because, in primary school, you want to do things for the teacher. So the teacher's like, no, there are other people who also want to go. And I have no otherwise. So the students who are same hooligans, they will leave school early, even if they're in class 7 or class 8. So they had made a small opening over the fence of the school to leave. So that is where I used to pass. And I want to thank God that I was never caught by the watchman. If you were caught, I don't know if you were supposed to buy a barbed wire that goes around the school. So I was never caught. So every time the teacher didn't send me, I will pass that place, go pick her, put her in the salon, and come back to class. So if I went without the teacher will write you a note to go pick her daughter. If I went without the teacher's note, I will wait for the junior classes. When they were leaving for home, I come back to class.
So this whole time, this now is probably a couple of years already living with your sister, maybe 2 years. At some point, I'm sure you do go home to your mom's house. Did it ever occur to you rather to mention what was happening in your sister's house? And also, I'm also curious to what was that dynamic with the teachers that you couldn't tell the teacher, listen, my sister, who is also a teacher, has given me this responsibility to take the child to the salon to eat, why couldn't you ask for some leniency?
Oh, something you have to know about public school. You cannot give that excuse. It is a survival place. And then about telling my parents, I was in fear. If you are a child and the only weapon your guardian is using is beating, you clinch. You're like, I'm going to be beaten if I tell anyone. There was a fear that was in me that I couldn't tell anyone. I could not. I will just... And then she never allowed me to stay home long. I remember I would go home on Friday and go back on Sunday. And she'll send me home on Friday, then Monday schools are open. See, you don't even have enough time to think about it. Yeah. On Saturday, she's already calling. When is she coming back? So going back to standard 7. So there's a day I didn't manage to go pick my niece. I think we were having exams, or the place where I used to pass was closed. There's a repair done in school and I cannot go. If you don't pick the child by that time, it was a Catholic school and the nuns are strict. You pay 500. So I go there at 5:30. The nuns are furious. My niece is already, I think she was anxious and she had pooped in her uniform because no one had come for her. And the nuns have washed her and changed her clothes and like, you know how you have to pay 1,000. I'm like, I'm just a schoolgirl. If you don't give me this child, this might be my death. I'm going to be beaten. And I told you, I am a cry baby. I cried for those people. I cried for those nuns. And they told me that is the last time we are giving you this baby. And then the next day, I also didn't manage to go. I am in class and I am crying. I'm like, my sister is going to beat me today. I didn't go pick my niece. I still go back and cry to them. They had to just get used to me. I just went back, cried to those nuns and told them, just give me the baby. And then the third day, they called Nova and told her, the person you've left to pick your daughter, she's not coming daily and you will have to pay for the charges. And you're like, you've not been picking. Where have you been? Why are you not picking my daughter? I'm like, we are not allowed to leave school. I'll say that before. and she ends up and beat me. So you're tough-headed. You're exchanging words with me. I don't know how I survived, but through my standard 7 and I think part of standard 8, I'm the one who picked her. So I survived that. In standard 7, I want to talk about the uniform. You remember when I was getting to the other school, my uniform was made by a tailor. When I'm going to public school, my sister went to the market and bought me the other pair. I remember they're called, let me say, in my language, they're called asiamagilut. You just go and pick the one that fits you. And the nylon, they're very low quality. As in, if you're seen wearing that, but in public it's okay because there are people are poor. Most people have it, but I was in a public school where it was in the middle of the town. So you'll find a half of the population has the cotton one, half of the population has the nylon one. So this uniform, it is low quality. So, and we are sitting on the desk. So when you wear it for a long time, the back part tears up. In standard 6, my uniform was just okay. In standard 7, I bought another one because when I was finishing standard 6, the other one got torn at the end of the year. It reaches the middle of standard 7 and my uniform is torn at the back. I am a lady. You know what? Nobody did. She took my uniform, took the neighbor, and they took another piece of a uniform and
Stitch it together.
stitch it there.
Kiraka.
Kiraka. As in, you are a lady. And then the funny thing was the height becomes lower. The back part. Because there's a way it's being conjured to fit. You are being bullied by your classmate. You're so untidy. Like, no respect for you. Look at your uniform. People used to tell me how ugly I was. As in, people didn't fear telling me that I am ugly. I'm not ugly like I'm an ugly person, but what I'm wearing makes me ugly. But then, in my defense, I used to beat people now. You know, I learned to survive. If you tell me I'm ugly, I beat you. And now, beating people, I used to fight with boys because you can't tell me I'm ugly. So my classmate hated me. One day, Nova comes to school, and I don't know, my teacher calls her Mwalimu. And my classmate like, you are staying with the teacher? Then one of my classmates tells me, when mtoto wa mwalimu anakaaje? So that time, mtoto wa mwalimu, a child of a teacher, you are supposed to have a cotton uniform. You're supposed to have a tafis. You know, tafis was a big deal. I wanted, I was like, if someone ever buys me a tafis, I'll be like, oh. Sister would go to the market to buy. Those shoes were like 80 bob, 100 shillings. The uniform was 180, by the way. The cotton uniform. Not the cotton, the nylon. And the cotton one was 500. So my sister says she cannot afford to make me the cotton uniform. I am not sure, but her daughter's uniform, from what I heard people saying, I didn't know. Even if it was a lie or the truth, that the uniform in that school used to cost 5,000. It was not a small school, her daughter's school. It was one of the biggest schools, by the way, the best in the area. But she cannot afford. I am in a public school. She cannot afford to buy me even a cotton uniform for 500. And crowning my primary school, I never did homework. Why? Because I was always busy. I get home, I fetch water, the baby is crying, I'm supposed to look after the baby. By the time you are taking supper, you have not done homework. After supper, you wash the utensils, you mop the kitchen, you mop your bedroom. you're tired, you're going to sleep. So in my primary school, I would say that I was just a survivor. Yeah. So I get to high school, I get a good grade. I'm taken to school. I was called to a Catholic school, and Nova says that she doesn't want me to go to a Catholic school. I don't know. She went to a Catholic school and she was like, it's hell. I want to mention that Nova has not been all bad. There are moments where she will be nice. I can't remember many of them, but one I can remember when I was in primary school. There's a time she told me, let's go to town. She bought me a suitcase. I didn't have a place to put my clothes. I used to put them in like a big bag at home. She bought me a suitcase and bought me some clothes and shoes. And that Saturday, I was all new, going to church. Yeah, that incident. In high school, I get to high school. What I can remember in high school is the amount of money I was being given. It was a little. She will give me 500 shillings. That one is your fare, going to school and back.
And this is boarding school, right?
This is boarding school.
Okay. So basically you have to, that 500 is catering for your transport to go to school.
Mm-hmm. I have to keep it
for the term, and then come back home
with it.
How much was it to go to school from her house or from home?
From home to the town where my school was 100. And then the school bus will pick us. But if you don't get the bus, you will use 50 bob. So I would say the fare was like 300. And then I remain with 200 for the whole term.
And what do you need the money for when you're in boarding school?
Maybe to buy, we were only given hot water or porridge in the morning. Yes. So maybe you buy something to take your tea. So she said at 10:30 we were being given bread. So she was like, you're being given bread in school, so you don't need the money. Yeah. And even the shopping, she used to minimize my shopping, essentials. But then I won't say that she was so bad. Sometimes she would buy me fruits. I remember there's a time she bought me a whole big pineapple, avocados, bananas, and I went with them to school. So she was not all negative. That time she would buy me things, but the money was so little. And then this time we moved to another town. She was transferred to another school and the family moved. And at this point, my sister has been blessed, by the way. I've seen her grow from having very little money to having a lot of money. So one of my, let me say, family members, not so close, but not so far, got into politics, the 2013 elections. And then the husband had a lot of knowledge about the new system, the governor, the new rules of what, and then he got employed in the county. So they started having money. So they bought a land in another town, they built a house. There's money now, let me say there's money. And the money is still constant. We go to the next...
The money you're getting.
Yeah. We get to another town. Now she's giving me 1,000. Going to school is around 350. So that is 700. Yes. My shopping is pads, soap, washing items, the essentials. Yeah. And maybe 600-gram bread, something like that. Yeah. So there's a time I used all my money and I called her from the school phone. Then she didn't pick. Then she called the teacher back. And the teacher called me later and she's like, your sister is saying you're very responsible. She had already sent you money. So I don't know what you're going to do. So everyone went home. I remained in school. I was just crying. There's a teacher who came and gave me money and I went home. She used to tell my parents that everything is well taken care of. We never had half terms. That time half terms were not mandatory. So the schools had their own rules of half term. We had visitings. there's a point she stopped coming. She only came for visiting when I was in Form 1. Yeah. Getting to Form 3, there's a time that tuitions were banned, but then there were some illegal tuitions going on. At this time, I can easily talk to Nova's husband rather than talking to her. So I go to husband and like, there's a tuition that is going on. I think the teachers were on strike. I don't want to sit home. The tuition is, I think it was like 500 per week. Could you please pay for me this so that I can go for that tuition? And he's like, that's okay. You can just go for it. So I go, he gives me the 500 for the first week. Then I go for the tuition. And then the first day, the tuition used to end at around 1:30. The first day, he gave me, I remember 100 bob. That was border, the motorbike fare to and fro. It was 50 to and fro. That day, I came back early. The next day, I came back at around 2:30. Well, if you walk, it was like 41 hour walking distance. So my sister is like, where are you from? Who did you go to see after the tuition? The tuition ends at 1:30. It's 2:30. Where have you been? I'm like, I've been walking home. And she's like, you are seeing someone. Okay. I didn't go anywhere. And this time, in this tuition, yes, there's a guy who started liking me in this tuition. He was, I can't remember his school, but the school was like around our school. And I remember he was from a very rich family. He's like, I want to be your boyfriend. I'm like, do you know where I'm from? I'll be beaten. Remember, at this point, my sister is still beating me. The beating is still there.
And you're what, maybe 16?
17, 16. Yes. I'm still beaten. And I'm still in fear. And I'm still not telling anyone. And in school, I'm there. I used to do so well in high school. I never got an A, but I used to have A minus. I used to do so well. Because I'm in high school, I'm in boarding school, I get enough time to read. I used to read. I remember I'm one of the people who used to read up to around 1 because I'm like, I'm going through a lot. The only thing I can do is to work hard.
Did you enjoy
school?
Did you enjoy learning? Did you enjoy studying?
Yeah. Yes. I can say I love reading. Yes. I really love reading. So this guy is my friend. And my sister, I don't know, Nova is a detective. I don't know.
All big sisters.
I don't know. This guy, he just told me like he likes me. And then he had a twin brother. There's a day they followed me home. I'm hurrying home so that my sister doesn't say, you're someone. Right now I'm now guilty. There's now someone in the picture. You're now big. Like I'm running home so that she doesn't get mad at me that, where have you been? And then they followed me. And my sister, who are you working with? There were some guys, I don't know, do you have a spy? Because I didn't even see them. Then the next day I'm going back to tuition is like, do we know where you're coming from? I'm like,
the boys.
I can't tell them that they're putting me in danger. The tuition thing, it became an issue. My sister was like, you are not going for tuition, you're going somewhere else because you're coming back late. I was trying to get back home early, but she was like, no, there's somewhere else you're going.
Jeez.
You are going to see someone. So, she's like, the next week you're not going. And I didn't go. So during the weekend, this guy came to my place. At this point, my niece and my nephew, her first born was a lady, a girl, and her second born was a boy. They're now a bit old, and they're like spies. If I leave, I'm going to tell mommy you left. So this guy comes to our gate. It was like a plot. So many people are staying there, so everyone can come in. So he comes and he even knows our door. And he comes and knocks and comes in. I'm like, you can't be here, just leave. And these children goes and tell their mom, there's a guy who came here to look for Luna, and I'm in trouble. You've started bringing men in my house. I'm like, that is just a guy. He's just been following me. I have nothing to do with him. It's like, no. And I was beaten for that. I thought it had ended. So there's also another guy who was in church. He never like wanted a relationship with me, but I think he used to teach lesson. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. We have something called lesson. So for the ambassador, I was an ambassador at that time. He used to teach us lesson, and this guy was smart. He was the best in his school. That year, he had done his KCC, and he was the best. So I tell this guy, "Do you have past papers? Because I am in my Form 3, and I need past papers." And he's like, "I'll bring you." I'm like, "No, just bring me on Saturday. The only time I can get out of the house is on Saturday, by the way." And it's like, "I'll bring for you on Saturday." Then he forgets, like, "I'll see what I can do." Then, okay, in church, people know each other. He knows where I'm coming from. He knows the family I come from. So he decides one Sunday to bring the papers. So I'm like, this is someone from church. He comes in, he brings me the papers. He sits then. At Nova's place, when a visitor comes, there is soda. You give the visitor soda. Then I go ahead and serve him soda. He takes the soda and he leaves. And the children goes and reports again. "Mom, there's another boy who came. And Luna gave him a soda." I never thought it was a big deal. My sister like, "You're bringing another man and you're even giving him my food." And then this time he didn't beat me. He just quarreled, and I thought it ended. So when we went back to school, we had an academic day. My sister came very charged with information, with evidence, and she goes to each and every desk. You know, during academic day, there's a desk for maths teacher, English teacher, good teacher. She comes to every desk and tell them that my sister is a prostitute.
What?
And she brings men into my home, and she has turned my house into a lodging.
Jesus Christ.
And she tells every teacher, and she makes it to be a big deal that I am so a stubborn child that when I go back home, I don't sit in the house. I just walk around. As in, it was a bad story. And she's like, "You need help." She takes me to the guidance and counseling teacher. And the teacher, there's a way the teachers now looks at you. I tell you, I was a smart child. I used to go for consultations. I loved maths so much. So every evening, our maths teachers were mostly men. My class teacher told me, "With your state, you cannot go for consultation to a male teacher." I remember my class teacher always calling me how I was a prostitute. There's a teacher who was a computer teacher. Every time I would meet her in the school, she would like, "Look at you. You're very stupid. You look like a prostitute. Do you want to take all these male teachers?" And it really dawned on me a lot. I used to, when my class teacher came to class, I would just leave, pretend I'm going to the washroom, and just sit there. And I started failing. I failed that. I remember it was like a final term of the year. I failed because I could not go for these consultations. I was not reading. I was just crying. Because in high school, there's some bully. Okay, it's not really bullying, but there's a bully feature in students. If your classmate knows what your parent is talking about you, how you're stubborn at home, whatever you do at home, there's how people see you. There's how people talk to you. You cannot tell anyone anything. I remember I was a prefect. I was demoted. Yes, I was demoted because of what my sister said.
Do you think you can understand why she did that? Was she, in her own twisted way, was she trying to protect you, or she was actually trying to put you down?
She was like, "I needed help, that I am so stubborn." But looking at it, did I really need help? I had a friend who was like, "Is this really your sister?" Because she was like, when I'm home, I'm really more stubborn. I really disturb my mother. But when my mom come to school, or my sister, they cannot. They cannot even tell a teacher that I have a boyfriend, because they know these teachers are not our relative. You know, when you tell a teacher that, you give them a ground to abuse your child. I was abused by these teachers, by the way. There's a way these teachers were looking at me, and that made me not do well in my cases. I really tried to work hard. No, in Form 5, I was like, let me just read. But then after you fail, it is so hard to come back to where you are. I really tried, but I didn't get where I was. So I'm done with high school. The results come. People felt that I had passed. For me, I didn't. I remember my sister was so happy. Nova was so happy when I received my results. I remember her calling everyone. Yeah, she has always been happy. When I got my KCP result, she was happy. I remember her buying me a soda, by the way. When I got my KCC result, she was also happy. And the husband told me, you know, when I failed, there was no hope. Then the husband told me, I want you to work hard so that when you get any B grade, I'm going to pay your university fee. I'm going to take you to parallel to a course that you want. So that one was like a gear for me to work hard. And, well, I got a B grade that he wanted. I'm going to campus.
You got a B for KCSE, but
A B grade.
a B. Okay, let's call it a B grade.
Yes.
What did you think you were worth, or what did you think you would have gotten if the circumstances are right? A minus.
Yeah, I never got to A, but I felt like I would get an A minus. Yeah.
I think so too.
After high school, there's always a period you wait to go to campus. That period, I remember my sister coming to me from school, and she asked me if I want to go home or to remain home. We first went home or go with her. And I'm like, I want to remain. And she's like, let's go, then you'll come back. And I was like, okay. At this time, she even have a car. Told you, life is becoming better. She's now have a car. She has a home. And at this point, she has 4 kids. And I'm like, I want to remain home. But she's like, let's just go. Like, maybe she's going to be a good person. One thing you have to know is I've always been hoping that she's going to be a good person. I've always given her like a chance to be a better.
Benefit of doubt.
Benefit of doubt too. Like, I'm like, this time round, she's going to treat me better. So I go with her. And she like, a month later, she fires her house help. She like, I have taught you through high school. Now you need to pay back. This time, she's pregnant with her 5th child. And she's so stubborn. So, like, even a house cannot stay. And she has been having so many house helps. I can't number them because of how she treats people. I'm here with her. Nova's husband is now tired. I'm like, how are we going to manage without house help if you cannot be nice to Luna? Most of the time, she packed my bags and telling me, go home, I don't want you in my house. She used to chase me like a number of times, but one thing the husband used to do, okay, she used to call my mom, and then my mom calls her husband, and the husband would be like, Luna, if you leave that house, let us not meet again. I want you to be there until I come back. And then I'll just wait. But the time of waiting, like, why are you not leaving? I've told you to go home. I'm the one who made you a relative with my husband. If I tell you something, you should be doing it. So I'm like, I just go find a place to sit and wait. And the husband will tell me, Luna, let's go to town. I give you food, you bring back. And while going to town, you'll be like, you now understand who your sister is. Just find your way of how to live with her. And he's like, I've already talked to her. You can just stay like peacefully with her. So I want to get to a point where I have already joined campus. Before I joined campus, now I feel like I'm now an adult, and I don't think it will be a big deal if I have a boyfriend. Before I joined campus, where we moved to, there was issues with water. So the husband drilled water, and the water was too much, so we used to sell. So the time I was home, I was the one selling water. So there's this gentleman who comes and he shows interest, and we get into a relationship. I'd never gotten into a relationship with anyone. I didn't know what to do. So like, you like me? Yes, I like you. Yeah, I'm already there. And it's really hard. You can't really see this person. The only time I will see them was on Saturday. No, for SDA, you go to church the whole day. So in the afternoon, I will just leave church and maybe go for a nature walk with him. He used to stay in the neighborhood where my sister was. So I have this boyfriend, and my sister doesn't care. Let me say that. Nova doesn't care about anything. Your health, your education, she doesn't care. The only thing she cares about is things done in her house. Yeah. So I'm going to school. I've already joined campus. The day I joined campus, I think that is the only time the husband took me to the bus station where I was picking my bus to Nairobi. So the other time, you go alone. And most of the time, I used to travel at night. But here, this time, they have like 3 or 4 cars in the compound. It's at 7. I'm supposed to be traveling. I'm supposed to go to town. But you just have to find a border to take you. Like, no one cares.
Oh, she was doing well. 3 or 4 cars.
Yeah.
You mean Nova and her husband had about 3 or 4 cars between them.
Yes. They're like, now they have money, they have cars. She's just there.
Was she still a teacher?
Yeah, she's still a teacher up to now. I'm left to go alone. So, I have a boyfriend. And this guy, he told me, like, his sister had a car. And I'm like, I'm going back to school. The first time I came back home from school, it's like, I'll take you to the bus station. And then he offers to take me. Then a friend of Nova's sees me with this guy and went back. And I saw Luna with this guy, and this guy is a bad news. I didn't know about this guy. Sincerely, I didn't. He didn't tell me anything. So it goes back to my sister that this guy is my boyfriend. I was seen in his car in the evening while going to the bus station and something like that. And then they call me. They're like, you are dating so-and-so. You are dating a married man. What? I didn't know. I'm coming to know later. And she tells me, if you want to get married, we are not going to pay your fee. If you already have a husband. That is what she tells me. And she tells me, when you get to Nairobi, pack your things and go home. We are no longer going to pay your fee. And the agreement was, when I forgot to tell you that I was taken to parallel in the university. They agreed to pay my fee, my upkeep, my rent, everything. Let me just say everything. That is what the husband told me. My sister was not part of the agreement. The agreement I made was with Nova's husband, because he's the one who is paying the money now. My sister is not involved. So she calls me and like, we've decided with my husband, we are not going to do it anymore if you have a husband. And the next day, my sister goes to this man's home and abused this person. He reported to me that my sister told him, the guy was a teacher. He told me like he had just finished campus. Wewe ni mwalimu aina gani? Wewe unaweza hata afford kulipa fee ya sister yangu. You're very stupid. Do you think your teaching can even pay my sister's fee? Something like that. The guy was reporting to me. And the guy was like, we cannot continue with this relationship. And I was like, okay. I was heartbroken. Yes, it was my first relationship. I was like, okay, yeah. It's sad, we cannot. So my mom calls me. My sister calls everyone. When you do something bad, she calls everyone and tells everyone. So my mom calls me like, don't leave Nairobi, just be in school. So you have money for till next month. Just be there. She'll just cool down. So I stay in school. But in school, I got to school, and that day it was a really dark day in school. After class, I was in class, but my mind is not there. So someone telling me, I've been wanting to do this. I've been wanting to go to school. I'm one person I want to be a professor, by the way. I want to go to school. And then someone's telling me, Eti, pack your things and go back home. So during break, I just sit. In our school, there were like chairs where you can rest. There's a lot of trees. So I sit there and I am crying. I've always controlled my tears where people are, but that day I couldn't. That evening, I remember walking to town in archives, Nairobi archives, and sat there. And I was like, if anything bad happens to me, let it happen today. Because I can't imagine that I'm not going to go to campus. I sat there till 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Nothing has happened to me up to now. Let me walk back. Maybe the thieves will come with knives and do for me something when I'm going back home. And this time, I'm just crossing the roads. Nairobi roads. I'm crossing the roads, not caring. I remember every driver doing for me, I'm Jana. In the roads. I don't care. And I walk back to school. Nothing happened. I followed the most feared path where like everything is taken from you and you're beaten by thieves. And nothing happened to me. And after that, I was like, if I survive today, then I'm going to fight. So I fought. That is how my fight in campus started. It was hell in campus. At that time, we stayed in school for like 2 months and we went back home. COVID time. So I go back home. I'm used to going back to my sister's place. I go back home.
Hold on. Were you able to go back to school beyond the month? Your sister ended up cooling down?
Yeah. The next month when she used to give me money every month. So when I asked for money from her husband, the husband told me that we've changed things. You're now not going to talk to me to ask for anything. You have to pass through my sister. She reports to me. Then I give her the money to send you. Then when I call my sister's like, so you tell your husband to send you the money. But then later, I think she sent me a very little amount of money, if it's 3,000 for the whole month. And then I called my mom. I think things were just sorted, but it became tough. In campus, it has been, I'm asking for money. I am begging for like 2 weeks. They send. If I don't ask, they don't. So it's just surviving. For the fee, I can say they have paid the fee. Every time I go home, when I'm supposed to come back to school, I inform them and the fee is paid. But when I'm in school, it's a struggle. So in 2020, I go back home after the boyfriend scandal. I had not gone back home. So I go back and I travel at night. I loved traveling at night at that time. So I am sleeping. And then my sister comes. I think the child, they're like, Mommy, Luna has come. And they're so excited. And I'm sleeping. And she's like, Ako wapi? With a very rude voice, Ako wapi? And the children are like, Ako kwa bedroom. So the children tells the mom, Eti, I have come home. And the mom rudely asks where I am. I'm asleep at this time because I travel at night. So she comes and like pulls off the blanket and like, I cannot stay with a prostitute, people who is dating people's husbands. Have you seen any of your thing in my house? I've already packed your suitcase. It is in the store. Go pick it and go home. I don't want to see you in my home. So I had my bag that I had come with from Nairobi. The reason why he's saying that I'm a prostitute, I am dating people's husband. So the guy didn't tell me that. I told you I was just dating. I don't know what to ask. The guy had married a given lady. They had a child, but they had broken up. So the lady left. That is why my sister was saying that I was dating someone's husband. And spoiling their reputation in church, in the area. So I take my bag. I didn't go to take my suitcase because it was put in a store that no one used it. Like it was so dusty. I went and looked at it. And it had been put like months. I think the time I left. I just carry my bag and leave the gate. And I was like, I call a random border to take me to town so that I can take a bus home. And then after calling the border, I see my sister coming. Umeachia nani hizi vitu zako? Unaacha vitu hapa unadhani utarudi hapa kwangu? Sitaki kukuona hapa. So my sister is like, who are you leaving for your things in my place? Do you think you will come back here? And at that point, she's carrying my suitcase. And she puts the suitcase and ties it on the border. She ties it herself on the border. And then she tells the border, make sure you take her to the stage going to my home. And I'm left. I'm like, I stood there. People are now coming. Like, what is happening? There's a commotion. And it was so shameful. And I cried. I cried. I was like, what is happening? Like, so shameful. I went home. We had online classes. At home, the network is so poor. So my mom talks to her and like, she's still your sister. Just allow her to come so that she can do her exams. We had classes. I didn't attend classes, but there was exam. I told my mom, I cannot miss my first year's exams. And there's no, even Safaricom is not working. So she talked to my sister and my sister says, let her come. But agreeing but not agreeing.
Half-heartedly.
Yeah, half-heartedly. So I go, and that day she texts me that don't come to my place. Let me not see you at my gate. And I'm like, I'm already in your town. And I am afraid to go. I told you, I'm so afraid of my sister by the way. I'm so afraid of her. She told me that. I just sat next to her home, next to that flowers, and that day I slept outside.
My God.
I texted her and I was like, please open for me, please open for me. And she didn't open. And I remember that night, it rained at around 4 a.m. to 6. It rained on me and I ended up going to the hospital that day. And I was diagnosed with pneumonia. Yes. Going to the hospital, I had an exam. In our school, the first week we do CATs, and then the next week we start our end of year exam. In medical school, we have something called end of year. We do units per year, not per semester, in my school. So I am in the hospital and I have CAT, so I have to do this CAT. And I did it. And then that day, my sister's like, I was taken to a private hospital. She's like, I think it was 2,000 per day. Who will pay those bills? I have paid for your father's NHIF. So you're supposed to go to a public hospital to use that NHIF. And she sends, there's a lady, she was staying with another lady from her husband's side. She tells the lady to come for me, to ask to be discharged. Yeah, without recovering. And I was discharged. And that night when I went back to Nova's place, I washed utensils at night. It was so cold. And I remember I was coughing. It was, I don't know, it was a bad cough. A whooping cough. Like a deep one, because I have pneumonia. And I remember my sister coming and telling me that I'm making for her noise. You're making noise. You want to cough the whole night. She woke up in the middle of the night to come tell me I'm making noise. And during this time, it was so hard. I was having exams. My sister would one time just to wake up and tell me I want you to go home. In the middle of exams, I will stand. That is the only time I told her, like, I'm not leaving. I have to finish. And you can, if you ever mess with my school thing, I always stand still. And I told her, I have to finish my paper. At this time, I used to try my best. I wake up, I do the chores, I did everything she wants me to do. I wash the clothes, I prepare the kids to school, I mop the house, I wash everything. And then she's like, you're making my blood pressure to go high. At this time, she was diagnosed with hypertension. She's like, I'm the one who made her to have hypertension. I want you to go home. You're not giving me peace in my house. And I'm like, the day I'll finish these exams, I'll leave. She treated me so bad. There's a time, when I left the hospital, when I was admitted, I was given some Panadol, PCM, call them PCM, a number of them for pain. When I cough, I used to feel pain. So I given some medicine for the pain. There's a time I was like, I should just die, and I took those pills. I don't know. Going to medical school, I've understood that you have to take grams of Panadol to cause a toxicity. I remember there was like, those are like of them. I took them and I told no one, I just slept. And the only thing that happened to me is like, I had loose tool. Nothing happened to me. And I've always said, if nothing had happened to me, then I can survive. So that was the hardest experience I had with my sister. My sister abused me. She used to tell me so many painful words. She used to tell me how I am a prostitute, how I cannot be better than her, how I am very disrespectful. Mind you, I am a very calm person. I never exchange word with anyone. I'm one person, if you shout at me, I'd rather leave or I'd rather keep quiet than exchange. And she was like, when I speak to you, you're keeping quiet. That means you disrespect me. Our relationship has been so bad. I really fear my sister. So I've been surviving by, if she's in this room, I leave. And the stories she tells people about me, her friends, after the boyfriend incident, she told her friends a lot of things about me. Adi, I felt like there is an energy that came after that. People who are close to her treats me differently. They're like, you are very disrespectful. Have you ever seen an eye that shows you like, you're a very bad child? Yes. I think that is my story with Nova.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you still in school and are you still under her care right now?
I am done with school a few months ago. I'm not under her care. I told you, like, I have been still giving my sister. I feel like she can change. So when I finished school, I went to her place. I've not been going to her place during my campus life since she chased me away. So I went back because the kids called me. They're like, we miss you. We want you to come back because I'm the one who have taken care of them. We want you to come back. We miss you a lot. They really love me, I would say that. So sometimes I feel guilty. I don't want them to know what is going on. They know how their mother is. Even them, the mother is so rude to them. Yeah. The older child called me one day crying. She's like, I used to report you to mommy. How when we were told to spy, she was telling me the secret. Mommy told us to spy on you. And right now she's treating me the same. Her daughter is now a teenager. And she's treated the same way I was treated. And she's like, I'm really sorry. I used to report you and what and what.
Yeah. So right now you're not under her care.
Yeah, I left her
house.
I wanted to live in a good way. Mm-hmm. In an African norm, I sat her down with the husband and I told them, I am done with school. There's a fee area that was still remaining when I finished school. So I told them, this is the amount remaining. I'm leaving the details. You pay it. I'm going back to hustle in Nairobi. And that is it. I didn't say any other thing. And then the husband asked me, do you have fare? Then I said, no. The husband was like, when are you going back? Like, I want to go back tomorrow. And I was like, it was at night. Then I said, tomorrow. And she said, someone who is saying that she wants to go back tomorrow, that's someone who is prepared. Why do you give her fare? And the husband like, no, just don't talk. I told her that way. Then in the morning, the husband gave her money, then she gave me that money. Then I left.
So right now are you working and living in Nairobi?
I won't say working. I'm surviving. I get locum. I can get locum. I cannot get.
What's locum?
Or in medical term, I'm a nurse. Locum is a one-time job. You're called for a shift. You work, you're given your money. You're not purely employed. I can go to any hospital. And then I still don't have a license. If you do nursing, you go for internship. I've not gone for my internship yet. It's when you are given your license. I also do crochet. Yeah.
And you make some money out of that.
Yeah.
What is holding you back from going for internship? Is like, I'm just trying to see, where are you in terms of your progressive career? I want you to be financially independent as soon as possible. So I'm trying to understand where you're at on that journey.
Oh, I don't know. You saw doctors on the street.
Yes.
So for medical nursing, you have to, the government posts you for internship. So the people who graduated last year, they have not been posted yet. So we have to wait for them. The government cannot post two groups. So I have to wait for next year go for an internship. It's a problem of the government. We have to be posted. For us, you don't look for your own internship. The government posts because we are being paid for it. Yeah. So as you wait, you find something to do.
I see. When you were younger, first of all, you mentioned this thing of KCSE and your grade. I just really want to reiterate, as much as I was so proud of the fact that you were able to still get a B grade, which is a good grade. One thing I know for sure is what you get in KCSE is not really the determinant for your future success.
Yeah.
It's something that has been drilled in our system, 844, like, what you get in KCSE will determine whether you'll be successful in life. So I'm saying this to you, Luna, and also to my audience, it is not. I know people who got very good grades and are still trying to make things work up to date, people who got below C's and they are doing well, So don't use that as the only avenue, or rather a determinant for success, even mentally as you're moving through life. So I'm just curious to know, what were your aspirations at that time?
I wanted to get a good grade so that the course I am doing right now, I wanted to do it directly.
Instead of parallel?
Yeah.
Okay, so you still wanted to do nursing?
I never wanted to do nursing. I wanted to do engineering, but then I was advised you can do a medical course. Yeah.
Your sister, was she always like this? Is she the only sister you have? Do you have others? You said you have other siblings. Yeah, up to 8. Are you 8 of you? You being the 7th. So was she always the one? Is she the firstborn? And is this how she is? Is this how your other sisters are? Is she just the one who is?
She's the oldest daughter, but not the firstborn. She's the secondborn. I have many sisters. I only have 2 brothers, so we are 6. My other sisters are so nice. They're so nice. During my campus, my sisters have been sending me support by the way. Yeah. They know my sister has always been rude. Let me say that. Everyone avoids her. But the things she has done to me, people don't imagine she can go to that extent. So I'm the one who knows them.
Do you think that your sister might be threatened by your potential to succeed in life and probably surpass her status financially?
I feel that way because she has once said that I will never be better than her. So I feel like she controls the family in a way because she's the best financially in the family. She supports my family. She sends them money, my parents. So me being there and having money and being better than her will be a threat. She will never have a voice because she feels like I am a very vocal person. I know how to speak out.
You're a threat.
Yeah, I'm a threat to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
How, man, I don't even know. Obviously we have to conceal your identity.
Okay.
In terms of, we've used the name Luna and not your real name, and we've used Nova, not her real name. The fact that you're just sitting, I'm sure how can we support you? You think that's what I'm trying to figure out. And if you can't answer that today, we can talk about this off air. And I can find a way to communicate it to whoever is listening to this, maybe again, like I said, in the show notes or in the description of this podcast, so that we can support you. Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, I am a counselor. I'm also a nurse. Not that I don't have a license, but I am a counselor. I'm looking for a job right now. I also do crochet and I sell my items.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what I'll do is I'll try and find a way to get anyone who is interested in helping you in contact with you, and see if that can be set going.
Just to add, some of the locums I've been doing is I always sell at the chemist because I have the knowledge of the drugs. So find someone hiring you for that. But they're not always guarantee jobs. Someone calls you for this week because I don't have a license. So
what can you do? What can you do legally? With the expertise you have up till now?
The license I have is for guidance and counseling. That is the one I have.
Who would you be counseling? What age and what gender?
Oh, it's a clinical
psychologist.
Yeah. So I can work in a facility where there is the HIV patient, the family planning. When you need, for every patient attending, you have to take them through counseling for testing, for counseling for family planning. Now that I've done nursing, I understand these things. Counseling for antenatal, birth preparedness. I love midwifery, the birthing, counseling for that. What to expect when you are waiting to go for a CS. What should you do when you're going for a normal birth? What are your preparedness? What should you prepare with? What should you buy for your child? Which hospital? Yeah, the risks, those things.
All right. So we'll talk a little bit off air so you can tell me what else, and I can find a way to communicate that on my platforms. And hopefully something comes of this. Honestly, guys, if you're listening to this and you feel like you can support Luna in any way, please reach out to me. You can reach me on my socials, and maybe just drop a message like, I would like to support Luna, and then we see how we can take that conversation offline. Well, thank you so much, Luna, for sharing your story. I think I'm so taken aback and shocked at your sister's, I don't want to call it behavior, but her nature. I wonder if it's something she picked up on. I wonder if it's who she is. As you are just wrapping this up, what is it that you genuinely feel for your sister? And what do you think is the root or cause for her pain? Because, hurt people hurt people.
I really love my sister. I look at other sisters and I'm like, why can't I just have a sister like her? Yeah. No, I've really tried to create a relationship with my sister. I've really tried. There's a time she had a birthday. We made a video with the kids and I bought her a gift, trying to create a relationship, but the response, I can call, she doesn't pick. I text, she doesn't reply. But I'm really hoping that, I don't know, there is a hope that is in me that she'll be a good sister. Yeah, I really love her and I really want her back. Yeah.
What is something that you would tell somebody who is in a similar situation, as yours, even like as close as your niece, who is now kind of going through the same turmoil that you went through?
One thing that I told her is her mom is so toxic. I didn't tell her that directly. I told her, ensure that you tell someone. One mistake that I did is I never told anyone. I realized that the dad may not be keen because he's not always around. But I told her that you only have your dad. I told her that from experience, that is the only person you have. So if anything happens to you, you don't have your mom. She's not going to be there for you. And I also told her, remember, when I was staying with your mom, I already had a love back at home. But then, that is your mom. For me, she's my sister. My mental health had already been built 11 years before I came there. So I'm able to move around my mental health. But this is your mother. You've grown up with her. So the only person who can help you is your father. So I'll tell anyone who is going through this, don't have it on your own, because I have really struggled with it. Sometimes if I think too much into it, I always fail my exams. I have problems making friends. I also fear people because I've grown in an environment where if you do something, you're not appreciated. You're told how poorly you've done. No one ever tells you how good you are. And most of the time, in my course nursing, you go for teaching practice. When I had a supervisor who was so nice, but I was afraid to create a relationship with her because I feel like she's older and she's pretending and she'll be bad. That is, I always fear that someone is going to treat me so bad. That fear. So talk about it. The things that I have talked about for the first time today, I've never told anyone. Because every time I try telling someone something, they're like, is that really your sister? I talked to my mom. I didn't tell her everything. The reason why I told her a little because My sister wanted my younger sister to go stay with her. Then I told my mom, no, she cannot. Yeah, that is the first time I talked about it, but I didn't say. She was like, why you? Because I was like, no, she cannot go. I was so wild. You know, I'm a calm person. I'm a calm and I'm also noisy. By the way. But my mom knows me as a calm. But then I was so wild. I remember like, why are you that way? I was like, no. I remember my sister had gone and my mom calling me like, so and so has gone to Nova's place to stay with her. At the same age I was. My sister supports my parents right now financially. She's so good financially. And she's like, instead of sending the money, why don't I stay with her? Like, I want you to take a bus, go pick your daughter. Today. I was like, today, no, don't sleep today. And it dawned on my mom, like, what have you been going through? I was like, you remember when I was just away? Go and bring your child. And she was brought back. And I was happy with that. So talk to someone.
Have you I thought we were going to finish, but let me just ask 1 or 2 questions. Have you sought some help for this? Because it seems like this actually really impacted your mental health and your wellness. Have you ever considered therapy?
Yeah. I considered therapy. I also considered, I've thought about reporting the abuse. But I was like, she's my sister.
Yeah. I feel like maybe there is, a lot of times I say if you find yourself in situations that you had no control over, a situation like this, that there's probably a purpose for you in that pain, whether you want to agree or not. And I hope maybe this story or this pain that you've gone through, I feel like it's probably aligned to your greater purpose on this earth. You never know. You might end up in that field where you're supporting or helping people in similar situations, and the level of compassion you have built because of being there is going to help so many people. And a part of me also wonders what's wrong with your not what's wrong, but like what I think I'm translating from Kiswahili. Nina msumbua, like what is it that is troubling her spirit? I do hope that she's able to find some peace in her life, because that pain is rooted in something, whether it's a trauma that we don't know about or it's a mental health issue, I don't know, but it's not any way to live, because even the relationships around you are affected. That means if you have poor quality relationships, you're genuinely not happy. You understand? So I just want to thank you for sharing this story. It's just hit me. I would like to know if there's a resource that exists for people who are able to sponsor children in schools, because 130 shillings, so many people can afford that.
It's even expensive.
Right, but I mean, from where I stand, I feel like the people who are able to take their kids to school, private school here in Nairobi, sponsoring a child is not something that should be so hard to do. So if you know of any place, please let me know, Luna, and I'll be able to leave it in the show notes of this episode. And if you listen to this episode and there are some foundations or resources that we can use, if somebody else who's listening to this story is inspired and they want to help a child get through school, let's do that. Luna, I do have to end this podcast. On a light note, I just want to say I'm so proud of you for sharing this story. I'm so taken aback, but also so inspired by your resilience, and the fact that you loved school and loved books and loved learning. Nobody should take that light away from you. So at all costs, you must protect it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, and consider supporting us via our till number or PayPal. All the details are in the show notes of this episode and on our Instagram page bio at sothislove_podcast. Your contribution will help us keep going. If you would like to be a part of this podcast, you can also reach out to us via direct message on our Instagram page. This is Jules. See you next time.